The United Nations is another thing of mine that I'm not really fond of. The United Nations in its day was founded on a great idea and it had a purpose. Today I think the United Nations is a failure. I think the United States needs to be a part, but we need to scale back our involvement monetarily and militarily in the United Nations. And you only have to turn on the news or read about these incidences in Africa where you've got the United Nations troops sitting in armored cars with machine guns watching hundreds of thousands of people getting slaughtered, and all they're doing is getting a front row seat. It's an ineffective group. I think the United States needs to scale back its involvement, but at the same time, the United States needs to, when able, step up and take action against these things. Where the United Nations fails, an individual country can succeed, or a group of countries can succeed. None of this slaughtering would have happened, and genocide in Africa would have happened if you had, whether you're for the war or not, but George Bush and the coalition sending that massive army, into these countries in Africa. You never would have seen that wholesale slaughter. You see it when the United Nations cars and trucks and jeeps are around, but you wouldn't see it with a committed army. And now we've got the United Nations and the United States wanting to enter in agreements with these international groups, IMF, and United Nations, that takes away from our rights. We, in essence, subjugate our constitutional rights, or our right to be governed by ourselves, to oversight from some international agency. And I think that's dangerous. We as Americans are proud. We should worry about ourselves first, but we're also a kind and caring and giving people. And when we can, there's no country out there that stepped up to the plate as much as the United States has to help right wrongs in the world. But we must insist other countries step up to the plate too. We can't be the world police. And we certainly can't keep paying for the world police of the United Nations that's not doing anything. A little sidetrack, I'm sure you all have kept up with the presidential trip to Europe. All in all, I was happy and unhappy about a lot of things, but I'll harp on some of the things I was unhappy about. Was Obama's speech in Strasbourg, where he starts talking about the United States being, in the past we've been arrogant, or we haven't recognized, that Europe's role as a leader in the world, or things of this nature. While if it's true, you don't go overseas to air your dirty laundry. We're the United States and we're in Europe. Let's let Europe remember that we're over there in France giving that speech in English because we stepped in World War II and we're not giving this speech in Germany. We shouldn't be bullies, by all means, but we should be proud, and we should not feel that we have to put our pride aside so that other countries can feel good about themselves. The United States is the greatest nation in the world. There's no other country in history that comes close to being what our country is. And for some reason, it might upset other nations that used to be, on top of the world at one time or another. That's too bad. We're not going to rub it in your face. We shouldn't. But at the same time, we shouldn't lessen ourselves to make them feel good about themselves. We are who we are, and we should be proud. We should be independent.